New York is now the next stop in Alex Eala's remarkable 2026 journey, and the timing could hardly be more significant. After a heartbreaking Cincinnati defeat ended her 9-match winning streak, Eala has already turned the page and arrived in the city where the final Grand Slam of the season awaits. But according to the provided source material, her arrival carried an extraordinary moment, a reported welcome from 18-time Grand Slam champion Martina Navratilova. For a player still only 21, the symbolism of that moment is impossible to ignore. Welcome back to the channel. If you follow Alex Eala's rise and want the latest stories surrounding her journey toward the US Open, make sure you're subscribed. Because this story is not simply about an airport arrival. It is about how quickly Eala's status has changed, how much attention now surrounds her, and why the final Grand Slam of the year could represent the biggest test of her career so far. The immediate backdrop is Cincinnati. Eala entered the tournament as the number 17 seed, the highest seeding of her career according to the supplied material, and reached the third round after defeating Elena Gabriela Ruse. Then came Amanda Anisimova, a world-class opponent and a 2-time Grand Slam finalist. Eala took the opening set 6-4 and then moved ahead 2-0 in the deciding set. For a moment, another major upset appeared to be within reach. Instead, Anisimova changed the match completely. She recovered to take the second set 6-4, and then produced a decisive run in the third, winning 6 consecutive games to close out a 4-6, 6-4, 6-2 victory. For Eala, it was a painful ending because the match had been in her hands. More importantly, it stopped a 9-match winning streak that had become one of the defining stretches of her season. But the defeat did not erase what had already been achieved. That distinction matters. A player's progress cannot be measured by one difficult afternoon, especially when that player has spent months repeatedly challenging established names. Eala's 2026 campaign, as described in the supplied material, has included major wins, deeper tournament runs, a breakthrough title, and a dramatic rise in the rankings. Cincinnati gave her another opportunity to compete against a top-level opponent on hard courts, precisely the kind of preparation that can become valuable once the US Open begins. The journey to New York has therefore been less about recovering from one loss and more about carrying everything she has learned into the next challenge. Eala reportedly boarded her flight from Cincinnati with the US Open already in sight. The mixed doubles competition was also part of her plans, with Canadian star Felix Auger-Aliassime named as her partner in the supplied material. That gave her another opportunity to compete under the spotlight before the singles tournament takes center stage. And then came the reported welcome in New York. According to the source material, Filipino supporters gathered with Philippine flags and signs celebrating Eala. The scene was presented as a powerful demonstration of the following she has built during the North American hardcourt swing. But the biggest element of the story was the claim that Martina Navratilova was there holding a welcome sign for Eala. Verify. The supplied source does not independently establish this airport appearance. Whether viewed as a confirmed event or a claim requiring verification, the story highlights something real about Eala's growing profile. Legendary names, established players, and international fans are increasingly paying attention to her development. The source material describes Navratilova as one of Eala's admirers and connects her with previous commentary about the young left-hander's game. That makes the alleged welcome especially significant within the narrative surrounding Eala's rise. Navratilova's reported technical observations are also important because they focus on an area that could determine how far Eala can go against the very best players. The supplied material says the Hall of Fame champion identified Eala's serve as an area requiring improvement, particularly in terms of pace, variety, and the use of her left-handed advantage. That is not a criticism of Eala's overall game. It is an assessment of what may separate a rising contender from a consistently dominant player. The serve becomes especially relevant on hard courts. A stronger first delivery can create immediate opportunities, shorten points, and prevent opponents from taking control from the return. For a left-hander, the ability to create different angles can make the serve even more difficult to read. The source material also references former British number 1 Greg Ruzetsky making a similar point about Eala needing the serve to become a weapon that allows her to strike first. That area of development. could be particularly important at the US Open because the tournament places enormous demands on every part of a player's game. The pressure is different, the crowds are bigger, and the quality of opposition becomes relentless. Eala is no longer approaching a Grand Slam simply as an unknown prospect looking for experience. Her results have changed expectations. The challenge now is to prove that the breakthrough performances can become a sustained level. Her 2026 rise, according to the supplied material, has been extraordinary. Eala reportedly began the year outside the top 40 and climbed dramatically during the season, reaching a career-high ranking in the top 20. The source also describes her first WTA Tour singles title in Washington, where she defeated Jessica Pegula in the final. Verify the exact ranking, tournament results, and several surrounding claims in the supplied source should be independently confirmed before publication. What is not difficult to understand is why that type of run would transform expectations around a young player. Beating established opponents creates belief, but repeatedly doing it changes the conversation. Suddenly, the question is no longer whether Eala belongs on the biggest courts. The question becomes how far she can go once she gets there. That is the pressure that accompanies a breakthrough, and it is one of the most interesting parts of her US Open story. The supplied material also points back to Wimbledon, where Eala's run is described as another major milestone in her development. It says she defeated defending champion Iga Swiatek before eventually losing to Jasmine Paolini in the fourth round. Verify match score, historical records, and milestone wording before publication. Regardless of which individual claims are ultimately confirmed, the broader narrative is clear. Eala has spent the season gaining experience against elite opposition and learning what happens when expectations suddenly become enormous. That experience could be more valuable than any single ranking number. Every difficult match provides information about how Eala responds when momentum disappears, when an opponent changes tactics, or when a lead suddenly becomes fragile. Cincinnati was a perfect example. She had the opening set and a 2-0 advantage in the third, yet Anisimova found a way to reverse the match. For Eala, the lesson is not simply that she lost. It is understanding how to protect a lead when an opponent begins making the match uncomfortable. That is one reason the timing of the US Open is so fascinating. Eala does not have months to reset. The next major is already in front of her. She has to take the confidence from the wins, take the lessons from the losses, and arrive in New York without allowing either extreme to define her. The best players learn to separate one result from the larger season. Cincinnati ended one streak. It did not erase everything that came before it. The support around Eala has also become part of the story. The supplied material describes large Filipino crowds at tournaments during the North American swing, with fans creating an atmosphere that makes her matches feel bigger than ordinary tour contests. That support can be an advantage, but it can also create pressure. When an entire community begins treating a player as a national symbol, every victory feels enormous and every defeat receives far more attention. Eala has already spoken about the responsibility that comes with representing the Philippines, and the source material compares aspects of her journey with the impact Manny Pacquiao had on Filipino athletes. That comparison needs perspective. Eala herself is presented as acknowledging that she remains far from Pacquiao's achievements. But the comparison shows how her success is being interpreted beyond tennis. Her rise is giving Filipino fans another athlete to rally around on a global stage. The reported Navratilova welcome fits naturally into that broader narrative. If verified, it would represent an extraordinary image, one of tennis history's most accomplished champions publicly greeting one of the sport's emerging young stars as she arrives for another Grand Slam. It would not mean Eala has already reached the level of a legend. It would mean that her progress has become significant enough to attract recognition from someone who understands exactly what it takes to compete at the top. But Eala cannot allow the attention to become the story. Once the US Open begins, reputations disappear behind the baseline. A famous supporter cannot win a match for her. A growing fan base cannot protect a lead. A ranking cannot hit a forehand. Eala still has to execute under pressure, manage the physical demands of a major, and solve opponents who will have studied her game carefully. That is where the real test begins. The supplied schedule also describes a busy period around the US Open, including mixed doubles with Auger Aliassime and an exhibition appearance. Verify exact draw, dates, partnership and exhibition details before publication. If those events are confirmed, they would give Eala additional opportunities to compete and adjust to the New York environment. But they would also require careful management of energy, recovery and preparation because the singles tournament remains the central competitive objective. For Eala, the biggest opportunity is not simply reaching another round. It is showing that she can reproduce the level that has allowed her to defeat elite opponents throughout the season. The strongest version of her game has already demonstrated that she can handle pressure and compete with players who have spent years inside the sport's highest tier. The next step is consistency. Can she bring that level match after match when the stage is even bigger? That is why the serve discussion matters so much. If Eala can make that part of her game more dangerous, it could change how opponents approach her. A more effective serve can create shorter points, easier first ball opportunities and more control over service games. It can also reduce the number of times an opponent gets a free look at a second delivery. At the highest level, small improvements can have enormous consequences because matches are often decided by a handful of critical points. The other major factor is Eala's mentality. Her Cincinnati defeat showed both sides of elite competition. She had enough quality to take the first set and build an early lead in the third. But when Anisimova shifted momentum, Eala could not stop the reversal. The US Open will inevitably produce similar moments. The challenge will be responding faster, staying composed and refusing to let one difficult stretch become an entire match. For Filipino fans, however, the arrival in New York represents something larger. They have watched Eala move from a promising young player into a name recognized far beyond the Philippines. The source material describes fans